everything that's on board. So, you know, before I mic up my Mesa Boogie cabinet with the SM57 here, you know, I need to make sure there's nobody in the house because of the volume. And number two, you know, like I'm only going to get whatever the room will, you know, like sometimes the amp only sounds as good as the room it's in, right? Even if it's an amazing sounding amp. And sometimes a little amp will sound incredible because of the room it's in, you know, like even an amp that wouldn't sound that great, you know. So when you're considering all this, again, it really comes down to when you listen to Glenn Frick from Spectre Studios. There, he's always saying, you know, your tone is coming from the speaker, and your mic and your speaker are probably the two most big tone changing things you can get, right? Which I would agree with him on that to a lot of degrees. But I would also add that your mic is what's the first thing that's going to be pulling in the sound into the recording, you know, unless you're direct in. So my guitars, my bass, I go direct in. The mic, I even go direct in. So I'm not going through a PA and then miking a speaker. I'm directly into the BR1200. Right now, substitute the BR1200 with some audio interface like a Focusrite or whatever. It's the same thing. That is where the mic is the first thing that's going to be grabbing that sound, right? And it's only going to grab the sound as good as the mic is. And a lot of times, you know, I think there's a lot of, you know, when people like say, well, things don't matter that much in the mix. And I'm like, maybe that's because you're not getting that much of a different mix between microphones. Maybe the microphones you have cannot pick up the extra frequency ranges to really truly give you that, oh wow, this amp is really different from this amp. This guitar sound is really different from that guitar sound. Well, that vocal, you know, like those vocals are absolutely staggering when it's like, okay, but when you sing through this mic, they just sound, okay, they're okay. And a good example of this, okay, I'm going to use a couple of female singers for this just because, you know, I'm into symphonic metal and stuff like that. Simone Simons from Epica. There's a song they got called Rivers. They do it with the band called Apocalyptica, which is the four cello guys. And they do that song called Rivers. Now, beautiful song, number one. But listen to how clear her voice is live on that. And then you can go to listen to another song that they do, or just about any song, but another good one is the Last Crusade. Listen to her voice on that. She's as clear as glass. And, you know, in one song, it's very melodic and stuff like that. You don't get heavy guitars till the end. And she just sounds perfect the whole way through, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, she's a phenomenal singer. But what mic is she using? Okay, go to the Last Crusade song. It's a smaller venue they're playing in, but listen to her vocals. Everything she sings, and those guitars, they're thrashing away. I mean, those are heavy D-tune, down, you know, like drop tune guitars, pounding drums and everything. And she's just, what the hell is she singing? How is she cutting through like that? Now, I know there's a lot more than just the mic there, but the sound man, that's what he has to work with. He has to, you know, the mic is going to make his job either easier or harder. She's not singing through an SM58, you know, not putting down the SM58, but she wouldn't sound like that. You know what I mean? Like, she would not sound that great. Fabian Ernie from Illumishade and Elvedi. Listen to her live. What is she singing through? You know, Bruce Dickinson. What does he sing through? You know what I mean? You know, like what mics are they using, right? So they're using something different there. But then you got to ask, well, what are they using in the studio? You know, like, how are they getting these sounds in the studio? Floor Jansen from Nightwish, like, listen to all the Walkin' 2013 stuff live. Like, I know, you know, there's a little bit of a cheat that these bands do. Like, I mean, for example, like they're rigged up to be recording live. So they're not just, okay, here's a bunch of mics on the stage. No, everything's going through a DI box right back to the console, and that console is going into whatever recording apparatus it has on station. And that's why, you know, you're not really hearing the true live sound. You're really hearing kind of like, even though it's live on stage, it'd be the equivalent of like live in the studio, where, like the vocalist isn't singing in the studio when they're live in the studio like Iron Maiden would do, or even the Rolling Stones. Like that mic isn't going into a PA system and then the PA system is mic'd and then whatever. No, the vocals are going directly into the board, right? And into the recording console. But what mics are they using to get the clarity, to get all that stuff? So when you're looking for mics, it's very overwhelming. The only thing that's probably as overwhelming as looking for microphones and speakers. But speakers are a lot easier, because with speakers, like back in the 90s, if you wanted to get a new speaker for your cabinet, I've swapped out speakers before, and I'm a huge believer in the whole, rather than buying 10 guitars for 10 different tones, buy 10 different speakers for 10 different tones. I would agree with that, although it's more fun to buy guitars. Now, once you got the speaker that you like, or a couple of speakers that you like, then go out and buy as many guitars as you can possibly afford before you die, or your wife catches you and murders you, whatever. Good luck to you. You know what I mean? Do what you got to do. Do what you got to do. But I would say, like back in the 90s, there was no way to test speakers for car stereos. No problem. You walked into a car stereo place, and it's like, okay, here's 10 car stereos. Here's 20 speakers. And they just click, 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 click. Hook this to that, and then you could tell what you liked, right? But guitar speakers and bass speakers and PA speakers and stuff like that, you really had to wait till you found a cabinet with it in it. Which the problem with most manufacturers, even still today, is almost everybody uses the vintage 30s in every rock amp, you know what I mean? A creamback or a greenback is in everything else. And the problem with that is it's fine if you're just looking for those speakers, but chances are if you're changing the speakers, those are one of the speakers that you're going to be swapping out. The Marshall 75 watt Celestion thing, that it's everywhere. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people are just swapping those out. Right? So it's hard to get to test it. But nowadays, it's not like that. Nowadays, you can watch videos about 20 minutes long with like 30, 40 speaker examples. And you can, they're time stamped, and you can jump cut it, and you can, I like this speaker over that. It's never been easier to find guitar speakers or PA speakers, or, speakers for bass players and stuff like that. But microphones are still kind of tricky. You do have a lot of people doing shootouts, but the problem is, and this kind of sounds funny comparing it to the speakers, is somebody might do, say, 30 speaker shootout with this mic and only this mic, right? But with the mics, it's what are you shooting it out? Like, are you going directly into something? Most of the time they would be. And, are all the settings exactly the same? Etc., etc. And the problem is mics tend to get more expensive than speakers. So you're lucky most of the time if people can shoot out maybe two or three mics. So you can't get like a 30-40 mic shootout in a video. So then you got to kind of just really kind of think about what it is you're trying to achieve. So if your main goal is jack of all trades, you're looking at the two best jack of all trades mics probably ever made, right? Like I say, one's more specialized in one area than the other, but like the king of the jack of all trades is the Sm58, because it will record for you. It won't be phenomenal, but it'll do the job. It's very reliable live. They're virtually indestructible. And there's a couple of different variations of the, like the deluxe model or whatever, but it's all the same mic. It's just, whatever, but whatever variation of the Sm57 or Sm58 you pick, that these are good picks, but they have to trade something off, especially the more versatile the mic is, the more it has to give something up. Right? In order to get sound from all around, it has to lower a bit of that input, the frequency range, or it'll just be screaming and howling on you like crazy, right? It has to kind of give up some of that to get more. To be able to sing at it from the side, from the front, from almost behind it, and pick everything up in the room. You're not going to get the clearest of sounds because, it's just, the sound, like it's picking up all this, right? It's just picking up everything. Where, okay, well, when you want to direct it in, say, okay, I don't want that, and you got this, which is like this, like a shotgun mic, basically, you get everything you want. It's quiet all around. It doesn't pick up all this stuff over here, but the thing is you have to stay right on point, and you got to be close, because you get back here, it won't pick you up. You get here, it might, you get here, it's too loud. Here, you know what I mean? And it all depends on what the source is of the thing that you're miking. So there's trade-offs, right? So that you understand. So when you're going to record in the studio, well, are you recording amplifiers? You're recording drums, bass, keyboards, which keyboards are probably going to go direct in, but let's say for argument's sake, you need a microphone for the keyboards. I don't know why you would need a microphone for the keyboards, because again, you'd go direct in, but say things that you're not going to go direct in. Maybe you do want a certain type of bass amp instead of going direct in. Maybe you want that, guitar cabs are still pretty popular, right? Miking a lot, even though, like a lot of people say, well, that's the old way of doing it, but maybe that's the sound you want. Maybe you want, like the Ingve Live in the studio at full maximum Marshall volume with actuators on it, overdriven to insanity. Yeah, maybe you want that kind of volume in the studio. You might not necessarily need that, but that will capture something different, and you need a mic that can do that. Right? So the point I'm getting is that once you get to the vocals, neither of these mics are going to really be the best for vocals, right? And knowing that, it puts you on a hunt. Now, the thing is nowadays, again, with the YouTube videos and stuff like that, you can get a lot of sound samples. Now, I'm not going to do sound samples on these because